Holger, because he can talk us all about, because he created these colours as well. You know, he's gone into the planning of everything, and they're made with love, aren't they, Holger?
Yes, totally. And not only with love, I would also say they're made with respect. We're trying to look for the right ingredients. So for example, you would not find an animal ingredient in there. So it has to do with respect, responsibility as well. And you know, I'm not a I'm not a chemist from the very beginning. I started as a makeup artist, and when we have started with Golden Eye 22 years ago, when I founded the company together with Renee, it started out with 2 training centers, and in the meantime, it's like more than 200 worldwide. And our goal was, you know, put it this way, in the 90s, I was taken for a ride for quite often. I was told stories concerning colors, make, the compositions. And in the end, I've realized I was just buying like worthless tattoo pigments, and I did not very good to my clients. And so when we have founded the company, that was one of our first goals, to say, okay, we really want to start out from scratch to see what is the chemical basis of pigments. And then, I mean, you have seen my leg is full of little parts and colors, and when I'm on the beach, people are looking at me like, oh, that's a weird tattoo, because I'm trying the raw materials really on my own body to see, first of all, how they react, what happens to them in months and years. And there is so many sorts of raw materials. And in working together during the past, for me, it's now more than 30 years that I'm in this business. And I like to talk to people, and I like to talk to professionals. And you know, I'm not that person who tries to hide everything behind. I like to speak openly, and during the past 30 years, I have met so many people, and I realized how many needs are there. And in the end, it's the beauticians, it's the pigmentists that helped creating the Coloressense line, because quite basically, it was, first of all, it was important to find the ingredients that do not harm the body, then out of respect that we do not use certain products. And in the end, it was also the need of the consumers and the need of the beauticians, because what does it really help to have a nice, let's say, a green pigment, which is good for the karma and doesn't kill any animals and stuff like that, but in the end it would not hold, or it would change colors. So it was a long way, it's a long journey. When we launched Coloressense, it was like it was like a really a big thing to the German market first, and then slowly but surely during the years, it really developed to a perfect range that you can really work from tip to toe and find the right colors. And last week, again, we were let's say the German cosmetic brands and all the beauticians and all their clients, they could vote for the best products and for the best methods. And again, so it's like, I think it's the 3rd year in a row that we are now the best micropigmentation company and the best micropigmentation products in Germany, and not only in Germany, of course.
I think everyone's seen us post all that. We're so excited again.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Again, you should see the trophy room in Germany. It's amazing.
And therefore, so it was really a good journey that led us to a very nice series, which you can really trust in, and that delivers the right results to me, because still after all these years, although I have to do a lot of other things. I'm still working on the beauty bed. I do micropigmentation every week, quite a lot. And I think this is also one of the reasons why this is really made from professionals for professionals.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you, Holger.
Right, well, we've got a couple of questions that were sent in. Shall we start with those? And then also, everybody, there is a chat option. If you have any other questions, post your questions on the chat and we will try and pick them up and work through them all. But we have had a few that were sent in advance, so we'll start with those. Also, if you want to ask a question or you don't know how to type, just unmute yourself for a minute and just let us know. Okie dokie, right, I think there's no more people in the waiting room. Right, let's start with the questions then. I just need to find them on my phone. Right. Question 1.
Oh, got lost.
I'm trying to read it.
Oh my God. English isn't his first language, by the way.
Me from Holland, we know speak English. And when should we use Showtime? And why do you put Showtime in the black and not orange? Does it matter that it is a lip pigment?
Okay, so do all the participants of the evening know already about the Coloressense line and everybody has a color chart so they know what we're talking about? I
think most people will have seen the color chart. I can do a screen share if that helps. And
that helps. Or otherwise I can hold it just like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, put it this way. There is first of all, we have to figure out the reason why an eyeliner or the color for an eyeliner on some clients would turn out to be bluish grayish. And this is, first of all, during the years, a lot of black colors tend to go bluish. If they're at the beginning, if they're very dense, implanted into the dermis, and when there is enough color in the dermis, it will always appear black. And when it goes bluish, that is the time when when you will see less and less pigment inside. Then there is a certain turning point. And if, for instance, the color appears bluish at the very beginning, then you can detect immediately, okay, it's just not enough pigment or not enough density to give it really the black appearance. Now, if we are talking on this bluish effect, if we want to keep it more warm, if we want to balance the color more into a darker non-bluish black, it would make sense in the meaning of the circle of colors to use an orange pigment. But the oranges that we are using, that we need for the lip colors, are more yellow oranges. And a yellow orange would change the color more to a muddy, greenish, olivish color. And a red orange or a very strong reddish orange will change the blue back to a warmer neutral black color. So if you have the choice and if you're working the very first time on a client's eyeliner, usually it would make sense to just use black 290. That's a nice black, stays black, is black, because already there in choosing the raw material for the pigment, I was keen on finding a black carbon black, which doesn't reflect the light in the bluish, but more in the warm color, and that is always what I'm looking for. And I'm still looking in all the market and all the raw material dealers, if there is a nice color that is good to use on the body, so that doesn't contain any heavy metals, but does not show so much shine on the molecule, which comes out bluish. So actually, and that you find in the 290. Now, all our experience will teach us that there is some skin colors and some skin textures where we can see already before we start working, or that's going to turn out in a bluish eyeliner, no matter what I'm doing. And here I would recommend the red orange more than a yellow orange, to make it in a nice, lovely black. What I sometimes even do, if a client returns to me after 3 or 4 years to touch up her eyeliner, and I can see a little tendency to the blue, I use even 2-3 drops of Showtime, which is this reddish orange, into the 290 black. And during the work, when I finish the first passage, I use a drop of this red orange Showtime, and I put it on as a color mask for a couple of minutes during the time that I work on the second eye. And to make sure that it does not dry that quickly, I dilute the Showtime with Skin Top, which is also a high potential healing and anti-inflammatory product, which makes the color more oily. And if I use a drop of color and a lot of 1 drop of Skin Top, and I mix it, put it on the surface of the fresh pigmented eyeliner, the 1 layer of red color will sink into the wound during the time that I'm working on the other side. And then at the final, I will do another passage with black color. So I'm layering the black, the red, and the black on top again, and I have fabulous results with that.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Right, the next question.
Just
Yeah.
sorry.
No, that's fine.
Just see in the comments, someone's asked, is it organic? And a lot of questions we get is about the Skin Top and the Easy Flow. Is it worth, maybe just before we go into the more detailed questions,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
talking about just the fact that they are a completely organic line and the whole free in one concept.
Yeah. So maybe
else haven't used it yet, and they're
okay.
Yeah.
So let me explain about the idea behind the color essence, because when I was working with different techniques, I have realized that certain techniques need different textures of colors. And so actually I ended up with several brown colors, red colors, because I needed them for the texture. Because when I do powder techniques, aqua lips, or you name it, like everything which is more superficial and with quicker movements, I like my color to be more creamy, more oily in the end, and I need something that helps the skin, or that prevents that the needle will scratch too much or even lead to a bleeding. And because during the powder procedure, the color lays on the skin, and I want also particles of this color that still lay there to be implanted in the skin. Whereas if I'm working on a hair by hair technique, an oily color really doesn't make so much sense. Because then I'm creating more or less, it's not a cut, but it's near to a cut that we really do when we're working on a hair by hair. And if the needle, there is certain studies that we found, if you put a needle into the skin, there is a little part of the color already comes into the skin with the needle. We have in our machines a very special shape on the surface of the needle. We have a kind of a rougher needle surface in order to already position some color inside the skin during the first contact with the needle. Now, if you pull the needle out, or if the machine pulls the needle out, there is an under pressure, or let's say a vacuum underneath the needle, and that kind of sucks in the color into the skin. And if the color texture is too creamy, or if there is too much glycerin or too much oils in there, that will stop the color from flow into the wound. Now, once the color is inside this wound, we need it to dry immediately, because otherwise, from wiping and from moving, the color could kind of spread or could lose the sharpness of the hair. And this is why when we looked at all these details, we had the idea of creating one color, which is not just a concentrate, which is like a super concentrate. And we give the practitioner the opportunity or the possibility to influence the quality of the pigment when we're talking about texture, whether to a more oily, creamy texture or to a more liquid texture. So when I'm working with a thin needle, let's say, for example, with a oh, get off. If we're working with a very thin needle, so the color needs to be more liquidish, and you can realize that when I put Easy Flow, this is a clear liquid. It's alcohol based, and there is Hamamelis, Virginia, in an alcohol base. And there's hundreds of Hamamelis products, and we have chosen the one that immediately closes the wound and immediately adstringiert, I don't know the English word, adstringent, it closes the wound very quickly, and it helps the pigment also to dry more quickly inside the body. So when the macrophage cells start to come and clean the wound, that our pigments already have built a little lump, so the macrophage cell cannot break it so easily, and so it will stay at that point, and it will stay there for quite a long time. And that is the Easy Flow. If you want to do the powder techniques with quicker movements, there is also Hamamelis, but you see it's a complete different color. And there's the Hamamelis Extract.
Sorry, and that's witch hazel. For those that are a little bit confused.
Oh, witch hazel.
It's witch hazel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's it's a distillate of witch hazel, and there is an extract of witch hazel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also glycerin and other things are in there. So the creamy in the creamy, or in the texturizer, to make it more oily and more creamy, you will find this texture of a glycerin color, this oily creamy color that stays longer moist, and that doesn't dry that quickly, and that is what I need when I'm powdering. So in the end, you have one bottle of color, and with exactly the same color, you can influence the texture, whatever is good for your hand, whatever is good for your technique, whatever you prefer to work with, and what makes you more successful. And I think already that idea gave us a lot of very of the clients that really stay with us since many years, because they just love this concept. So in the end, you have three different textures in one bottle, put it this way. You have the ultra concentrate. If you want to do full lip and like a lipstick effect, you use a larger needle, pure color, and just go slowly forward and back, and you have like the full-fledged lipstick effect. If you want to do more the more transparent products, if you want to have the creamy, you add some skin top, and you want sharp outlines, you add the Easy Flow. So it's fabulous in the end.
Yeah.
Holger, the products are water. They are hydrophilic, aren't they? They're water soluble. They're not hydrophobic.
No, they're not hydrophobic, but also you will see when you're working with oil, like let's say with mineral oils,
Yeah.
or if you're working, for example, with skincare products after the treatment, that contain too much mineral oil or even a lot of natural oils, still you can, they will change the texture of the color. So the color in the end is a hydrophilic color, but we make it once it dried inside the body. We made it in this way that it quickly dries and stays at that point where it needs to stay. So this is why we're asking not to wipe too much with water after finishing the treatment, but also not to put mineral oils or lanolin oils on top of the wound, because also those oils would break the little bridges again that when the pigment molecules stick to each other to make it solid and to make it dense. And if you're working with the wrong oils on top of the pigmentation, you can see a difference in healing. You will lose a lot more color, and you will have a lot more work in the touch-up treatment. That means in the end, so they are hydrophilic, but also they're lipophilic once they're dried. So also we don't want to use too much oils after the treatments. And then it's really like 2 times treatment, Bob's your uncle, then it's there.
Perfect. I think what I'm leading on from there with this question is, yes, they're hydrophilic, which means that, you know, they're water soluble, they go into the skin easier, but also, unlike the tattoo inks, which are completely water soluble, we're going to get fading, aren't we, after years? So we're not going to lose the clients for the rest of our lives because
no. I mean, there is of course there is a major difference. I think in the black pigment is the biggest difference between inorganic and organic. There is this kind of I don't know how you say that, das Gerücht, like a word which is spoken around, but they're not necessarily true.
Rumors, gossip, rumors.
Yeah, there's for example, there's rumors that organic colors basically are always like the colors that have the longest durability, and that inorganic colors would fade, which is nonsense. If you're looking at eyebrows that done like 25 years ago with inorganic brown colors, all they do is that they go through a chemical change, that free radicals would change the iron oxide brown by adding an oxygen atom to the molecule, and then it changed to the red, and that red stays forever and a day. So it's also, it really does depend not if it's an organic color or an inorganic color, water soluble or hydrophobic, hydrophilic. That's not really the point. What I came to find out during all the years of studying the raw materials, actually on my own leg, I came to find out that in the end, it's the size of the molecule. So I can buy the exact same raw material, and then it starts to be interesting, because it depends on what size you break down the powders. It depends on what size the color molecules will have. And if you work with the same raw material in different sizes, I detected that there is also a different durability. And then for me, it was always the most important point, because I hate it when clients come back and it's like, oh, I have red eyebrows and my red lip now is peachy and I never wanted it to be peachy. And you start with a pink and in the end it's an orange. So those kind of color changes I disliked totally when I started working in micropigmentation field. Because I always thought my client thinks I'm incompetent, and in the end it was just a lack of knowledge, and in those days nobody knew. And there was 2 things that have changed that have changed my life. First of all, when my mother had cancer, and I thought, oh fuck, now is it me that is in charge of giving her that disease? because a week ago I was reading in the newspaper that in some micropigmentation and tattoo pigments you will find phenyldihamiin in highest concentration, even more than in hair colors. So that was for me the first shock. And the second thing that was always like glowing under a fire until it lit the fire was always that I was always nervous because I never knew how the color will turn out once I'm finished and what happens to the client 2-3 years later. Because back in the 90s, I had clients coming back to me after 3-4 years with green eyebrows, blue eyebrows, orange eyebrows. And I was like, fuck, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to explain, you know. And this is and that was for us in GoldenEye the turning point when we have put all the energy into studying pigments. And so we have learned that different molecule sizes do have a very big impact in the result of the color and in the durability of the color. Then of course you can stabilize a pigment. You can put, like, for example, a glue to the pigment. There is, and of course there is some luck and some treatment to the pigments are done not really very responseful. There was a big thing in German newspapers because there was rosin. It's an ingredient in there that also covers the pigment to make them more or to help them with a longer durability. And there's major allergies even after years. Sometimes it was just a touch-up treatment after years, and then the allergy type 4 kicked in, and they just started to have the worst reactions. And but sometimes it's needed to coat those pigments, but it's also important to see what you're coating it with.
Yeah.
And so the colophon is the product that's a lot of cheaper because it's really a cheap product. Colophonium is used for a lot of the low price products, and also in Asia and even some American products. People tend to think that once a product is FDA approved, it's super, but it's less than 200. It's less than 200 ingredients that are banned from the FDA, and more than 2,000 that are banned from the European, especially from the German ones.
Yeah.
How the Germans are. There's like, no, jawohl, it's not right. We have to do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're like that, but okay.
Yeah.
So there's thousands, really thousands of ingredients that we cannot use, and the colophonium, for example, that I was explaining, also is a very good in the meaning of durability, but people have a lot of allergies. And we have had pictures in one of the biggest. You know, it's like the Sun. It's not like a proper newspaper where you read only the news. It's like more or less one of those gossip magazines. And on the front page was this girl that you had she really looked like she had a Sylvester New Year's Eve banger in her mouth that just exploded. She looked awful. And then it was like, okay, and then they have used a micropigmentation. So my clients started to call me again, and they were like, oh, what is this? Would that happen to me as well? I was like, no. It's all down to ingredients in the end.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to sell, I'm being really chatty again. What I wanted to say is that in the end, I have found out that, for example, a yellow would need a different molecule size than a red color, and a black color needs another molecule size if I want them to at least stay approximately the same time in the skin. If I would use the same molecule size and the same treatment for all the pigments in all, like first mix the color and then do the treatment for the colors, then you will see some colors will lose the yellow at first, and so they will change. Then they will lose the red pigment, so they will go more grayish, bluish, and then and that's the point that I wanted to find out, and I'm still working on that. I mean, we're quite good, but I think I can be perfect. That I'm still working on that, looking for raw materials and for treatments, and still we're already top, but I can see
Right.
still in some little screws that I want to work at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can see so many lilac hues, can't you?
Excuse me, I didn't understand.
So many lilac. I'm going to just say like a hint of lilac on where the yellow is just slightly weaker on some.
Yeah, that's the point. Because yellow in the end is the weakest color, so you have to give the yellow. You have to give the yellow the most support to stay longer in the skin, for instance, than the black. You don't need to support black to stay a very long time because the carbon is not necessarily a product that our body wants to get rid of. And for example, it's that's the thing why a lot of colors tend to the lilac at the beginning, because the yellow is fading at first. And the same thing is the durability of the black, if that or even more the white pigment. I'm sure you know that. I mean, there is thousands of ladies running around in German streets that do not want to have micropigmentation anymore, because back in the 90s they had a lip treatment with very nice natural colors and very nice soft invisible pigments.
Yeah.
So during the years, the red pigments disappeared. During the years, all the other pigments disappeared, and they have treated the titanium oxide in the same way.
Yeah.
So that also they made it more long lasting, because that's what we all want, to have a nice lasting result. But then the iron oxide was the most long lasting, and I have seen so many people with white or with a beige liner around the lip liner around the lips. Ugh.
Yeah.
Then that's hard to change again.
Yeah.
So Holger, just quickly, so they are they're obviously organic, they are highly concentrated. How long would you say they last in the skin, or like when roughly would clients be coming in for a color boost?
I think that depends a little bit on three factors. First of all, on what area you work in. Secondly, the contrast of the color you picked to the surface you're working on. And also the amount of black pigment which is included in that mixture of color. Because if we're talking about eyeliner, the clients would come back about 3-4 years later to have a touch-up, but still then you can see the line, it's still there, it's still solid, but it's not black anymore. It went to a gray, to a charcoal color, and then they would like to have their touch-ups. For the eyebrows, I would say, because there I'm using a maximum, even on the darkest eyebrow colors, I have less than 20% of black pigment in there. So the darkest eyebrow colors, clients would come back every 2-3 years. Some lucky ones would come back after 4 years, but then you could already see as a makeup artist, like, oh, she was really desperate for that. Yeah. Blonde colors, which are lighter in the meaning of contrast to the surface they have been applied to. If we're looking at the percentage of pigment, it might be the same than a darker eyebrow has left in pigments, but you don't see them so much, because a lighter color on the skin complexion is not as visible anymore, even though 50% are still left in there. So I would say blonde eyebrow, she would come back in between 1.5-2.5 years. That would be a fair recommendation to tell her. And what I came to realize also, because I like to have the clients to come back in a more regular basis, I would offer my client in a certain space of time a very good deal. So they would pay, if they want to have, oh, I'm missing a word. Wenn man etwas instand setzt, Oh, okay. Let me find the word together. So if somebody is working in the house, taking care of the pipes and of the heatings, and if a light bulb is not there anymore, so he will change it. What is the job called? Maintenance, yes. If you want to maintain the car, thank you. So if you want to maintain the color in the perfect depth and in the perfect warm or cold direction, it would be good if the clients come in between every 12 to 18 months, and it's less than a touch-up treatment. It's just like a little checkup, and they would pay half for that. So it's only one treatment, and so if they come back in a certain space of time, I will charge them only half. So in the end, all my clients are there 18 months latest after having their treatment done to have a checkup. I'm sure that even though on some clients, especially when there's a very pinkish, like a blue reddish undertone in the skin, which you will find a lot of in Irish people when they don't have freckles, because the freckles normally give them the kind of olive back on the surface of the layers. But if the skin is like quite pinkish, then sometimes they have more tendency to go quicker into the gray color and the very olivish color. So we're talking here about our friends in the Middle East, or even North India, when the skin tone is that green that it really looks a little bit like mustard. So in those colors, you will see a very quick change to the grayish. If they come back in 18 months, I would recommend then already to add some more warmer color to balance that. But usually it's the same color that I used beforehand, and then they're happy ever after.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Right. Shall I move on to some of the other questions that we
Second question.
We've done question one.
No, stop. Any question?
Right. So there was another question. So we'll go through the ones that were sent in before first, and then we'll pick up the questions that have been posted in the chat. So it's another one about correction and showtime. Would you add showtime to a brow correction, or would you use the orange instead?
That really depends on the color that you want to correct, and on the color which is then the corrective color. If there is just a shade of gray, if it's just like I know there's 50 shades of gray, but you know what I'm talking about. This very light shade of gray, whereas the client comes back for a touch-up treatment, and you actually would say, okay, it's kind of a new treatment, but there is a little grayish shade left. In this case, I would just pick an eyebrow color which is warmer than the one that she used before. So I have put all the colors into a field of red correct, like gray corrector, blue corrector, warm colors, neutral color, cold color, and then on that side is the orange and red correctors. So if something had the tendency in the years to go to this direction, then you would have to go the same way to the warm direction to find the middle part there. So a very slight shade of gray, you use a warmer color. If there is this kind of reddish, it's just, you could say it's the fruits that fall from the tree, chestnut, it's like a chestnutty color, so like a very warm brown. Or even in the lighter color, like a coppery brown. So they would be enough to balance a little bit of gray. Now, if the gray is darker and you would like to add a dark color to go back to the same intensity that it used to have, then you will see that adding extra orange into a very dark color will change the color more to well, it doesn't really give you a yellow orange, doesn't give you enough to balance the bluish in the gray, put it this way. So in this way, I would say choose a pure warm color and add for a darker gray some yellow orange, which we call obviously orange. It's like orange. Obviously orange is yellow based orange that looks like that. This one here.
Yeah.
And if you see the tendency to go that the color would go to blue, or even it's not necessarily what most people say is blue. In the end, is a petrol color, like it goes even. It's got a little bit of a turquoise in it, a turquoise-ish color. It's not really a pure blue. Even also the black tattoos that are old, it's not blue. It's in the end, it's a turquoise base. And to balance that bluish turquoisey color, we need a red orange. And this is the only moment when I put the Showtime in there. To correct gray, a soft gray, which you want to change a lot, you could even use an orangey lip color. Very often I use Umber Ambition or Terrific Terracotta, just some drops in a warm brown. And if we're talking about blue corrections, there we will need the orange. And if it is a blue turquoise correction in the very dense blackish eyebrows, this is the moment when you go to the Showtime. But that's really the only moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Right. Next question is how much titanium dioxide is in these pigments?
Oh, that really goes from 0 to 100. It's when I was formulating the pigments, my first goal was to use 0 titanium dioxide in the eyebrow colors, at least, to make it very easy if somebody failed to laser them, because the higher the amount of titanium dioxide is in a color, the more difficult it is to remove it by laser treatments. And secondly, I was always so afraid to leave back titanium dioxide in the skin, because we know that the body is not really interested in taking the titanium dioxide away. So in this point, for me, it was important to not stabilize the titanium dioxide so much, because I don't want white lip liners in the end, but I need it in the lip colors, especially in the very light lip colors. If you want to bring out a certain luminosity in darker lips, there is the need of some titanium dioxide. But in all the years I'm working with the Colorescence now, I have never seen one client with the leftover of the titanium dioxide in the lip colors. So that will definitely not happen, because I rather pick when I'm mixing the colors. I'm very keen on keeping the titanium dioxide amount quite small, and then use a very light pink or a light red to mix it, so I can use a bigger amount of the red pigment and a very small amount. And what was done in the future, that the darkest and the most intense red was mixed like 5% of that red and 95% of the white to make it a nice pinky color. And then we got the result of the white contours. For the first years of Colorescence, I had also not really titanium dioxide in the mixtures, but due to the fact that we wanted to change the yellow color, because we have found a new yellow pigment, which has even a longer durability to work with. But this yellow is stronger than the one I have used before. So I had to use a little bit of white into in the very light eyebrow colors. We're talking about sophisticated blonde, delicious toffee, amazing blonde. There's a very small amount in there. So still, when you laser them, you might need an extra treatment to have this like 10%, 5% of titanium dioxide left over.
You ended up putting a little bit of the titanium dioxide in for with the chemicals agency with Extra as well.
Yeah, and also you know, I always look above, in the future.
Beyond.
And so because forward, before, okay, because I am in contact also with people working in Brussels and working on the new legislations of pigments, and I always know exactly what red colors, what blue colors, what amount of pigments will be allowed, because actually this year REACH, which is the new, like the highest legislation for pigment colors and for tattoo colors and micropigmentation colors, will come to Europe. Now, Corona came first, so it took a while, and I think our health departments now have to a little different work than to think about micropigmentation legislations. But it's there, and I have the file there. I think I sent it to you also the last days. I have not the draft, but the finished draft that only needs to be signed, and it will come to the European countries. And I think this is the moment when you will also see when the good colors will divert from the not so good colors. Because once the REACH will enter Europe, there's a lot of companies that will have to whether take off products from their markets, they will have to change formulations, and some of them will be completely banned. And I mean, Coloressense, if you look in all the lists, there is these RAPEX lists and stuff. I mean, for the past 15 years, you will not have found one Coloressense product being on a RAPEX list. And this is what is important for me also. Now, I don't know how it is with the British government. Once you exit or Brexit, or I don't know how you say.
No, we have nothing. We're behind the Americans even.
You have to do it by your own concept, by your own plan, what you want to do. But in Europe, it will be really, really difficult for a lot of companies and for a lot of firms. In the end, I think not only by Corona but also by REACH, some people will have to close their companies because they're only working with non-confirmed ingredients. And before, in the European law, it was said, okay, you want to use as low as possible the heavy metals and the barium and all those things. And in the REACH, they will tell you exactly how much parts per million are allowed or not. And once you're 1 part per million above that, then you can throw your colors.
Yeah. So this is also one of the reasons why our range is a little bit more expensive, because we use the better quality ingredients, and also because obviously this is tested to a much stricter legislation, obviously in a different way from other pigment switches.
Well, in the end, you know, I don't know if you have in England the same thing. There is some laboratories, you can send them colors and color mixtures, and there's not a constant control. So for example, the CTL test, you do that once, you send a color there, you name it, you label it, and if something is changed or not, and if you don't change the name of the pigment color, nobody really takes care about that. And that's the point that that also makes some laboratory tests useless, because there is not a constant double checking in that.
Yeah.
And I think once there is a law, then there is also a department inside the government that will also take care for that. And because then they will start digging and they will start searching and they will start looking for the wrong products, because in the end, once you have seen the pictures in the newspaper of this girl, you know what we're talking about, and you know, I mean, I can show you. Where's the ingredient, the raisin ingredient? I'm sure I have it somewhere here.
A lot of I see a lot of Facebook posts about
Yeah.
this when it come out. Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to happen as well when it comes to removal. So when if people are having removal of work that they're not happy with, it's going to reactivate. So although there might not be a reaction now, anybody that then has removal of any sort, it can reactivate, and then there can be an allergic reaction. So I know I've just sort of, with doing laser removal, I know that the first thing I've got to look for is a reaction to the pigments that we used prior.
Mm.
So
and the thing is, I'm so in fear using those chemicals that just had a patch test. You know, they just put it outside the skin, leave them on for 24 hours, and then it's fine. But the purpose of these removal products are totally different. And it really scares me a lot, what kind of chemicals are being put in there. And of course I was trying, and of course I was playing with that. And because we're one of the biggest European companies and the biggest in Germany. So when I'm on exhibitions and fairs, those laboratories and production companies of removers, they keep digging on me and asking me, okay, do you want to sell this product on your channel? And what I always keep doing is like, all right, I've got some points on my legs. If you remove one, that the skin doesn't break and everything looks fine after, and the color is gone, then we have a deal. And I remember once you came to Germany and I showed you the hole down on my leg. When they tried to remove with a milk acid and some other things, the color, of course, the color is gone now, but the skin is also gone. It took me a year to recover from that hole near my, and if I imagine that they would do that to my eyeliner, thank you very much. So don't ask me about removers. I don't have a very good experience on them. Once I will publish a remover that works well and doesn't harm the skin, I will go to the right certification and see that I will not do something wrong in the long term.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
I've got another interesting question. Why are the Coloressense pigments fragrance?
What are they?
Fragrance.
Perfumed.
Perfumed.
Perfumed? No.
I never noticed, but I tend not to smell the pigment. But there was a question that we got sent.
No, there is no perfume in there.
Oh, that was one I got sent, I think.
No.
Sorry?
There's just an aroma to them.
Aroma.
Is there? Yeah.
No,
I'm just gonna
I
smell
think
it.
they smell today.
I mean, maybe it's because I've had aftershave on my hands or something.
Do you know who the question came from? Did somebody?
I can have a look. It was on one of my Facebook posts.
Okay.
Okay. No, I know that there is, of course, for example, certain ingredients do have a natural scent, and alcohol, of course, also gives certain reactions and a certain odor. But I would never put like a perfume into my biggest goal is to be non-reactive.
Yeah.
So all preservatives, perfumes, emulgations, all those things could create problems in the long run. I would never use that. But you're right, they smell well. I think it's a witch hazel then.
I would think it might be the witch hazel.
Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
find
Yeah.
Probably will. I mean, I've never smelled the pigment, but I don't use them. So, but
Well, you know, you should see me when I'm in the laboratory. I'm covered like the white men when they found ET. You know, like with all the shields and all the masks and all the papers and stuff. So, like I would meet an alien when I go there to create a new mixture, and of course I would never smell something in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Let me have a quick look.
He's got to open his phone again.
Yeah. Okay. This is an interesting, good question as well. Can you add real black 290 to Ebony Queen to make it darker?
Yep. Put it this way. I would say yes, but only yes, because the thing is, I know exactly what your need is. I have created now a color which is called dark Oriental, which is a little darker than the browns that are still there. Because I know especially the Oriental eyebrows and the darker eyebrows, Asian girls and boys, they do need more than just an Ebony Queen. But the point is, in the long run, in the years, you will detect a tendency. Really, the more black you put in there, the more risk of blue you will have, because once the black is not dense enough, it changes a little bit to the grayish bluish, and that is the danger, then a real extreme danger. So I wouldn't start out with a cool brown. I would start with a warm brown. So if you add a drop of 290 into dark redwood, where I have really put a lot of red pigments and a lot of orange pigments, which is actually a color formulated for really for really olive skin, or to balance if there is a gray eyebrow and you want to use a dark brown, that is the right one. Of course, Ebony Queen is a beautiful brown to use the powder technique, and because all the colors that are being powdered of the Coloressense series in the eyebrow series, all the colors will appear more warm once you use the powder technique, because the black color cannot collect so well in the wound as it does when you do the line of a hair. Yeah. So actually the same color you're using for the hair by hair effect in eyebrows, and you use exactly from the same bottle with the same lot, the same color, even on the same client with the powder technique, the same color will appear more warm when powdered and more cool when you're using hair by hair. And knowing that, of course, you can work with it very, very, very well. But in the minute you put more black into a dark brown, I would always recommend use the one that it already contains a lot of red. And if you need, and if you like to use it together with Ebony Queen because it's your favorite color, then at least put a drop of orange or 2 drops of orange and 1 drop of Showtime into the mixture once you add 1 drop of 290, because that black is so potent that it really will change the complete mixture.
Yeah, I'll just make do until you bring out the Oriental. Just let's bring that out.
Yeah. When is that going to be available?
Now, I published it last week in the German in our German beauticians meeting.
Because I'll get in the car now and I'll come and get it.
Yeah.
Okay, would it help you if I said I got one here?
Yeah, we need it. We do need it.
Yeah.
Are the trend colours, are they staying?
I didn't understand. I didn't hear you. Sorry.
The trend collection.
Well, for example, the lip blush color. I know that everybody freaked out about it, so we will keep that, of course. And I'm sure that I can speak because I'm not the business person in the company. I'm the artist and the person who likes to look all behind all the scenes. But if there is a color that has a very big turnover, and I'm sure there will be some of the new colors, that we will keep them. If we do not keep them, I will give you the exact recipe and the exact drops how to mix them with existing colors.
Oh, that's good, because I really like the trend
Claire
brown.
loves the brow colours, don't you?
I use them all the time. They're so easy to mix and they can suit everybody with like certain mixes.
Beautiful.
Once you do a lip powder with, for example, the Deeper Love, or now the latest color that I brought is Frozen Strawberry, and to do a powder or aqua technique with the frozen strawberry, that looks so hot. Oh God, this is so beautiful.
Oh, I'm a sucker for pigments.
Yeah, I love the Deep Love. Obviously, I've got the lip blush on, which I absolutely adore, because I wanted to try that on its own. And but obviously, it's going on top of layers of old pigments, so you can't just guarantee it's going to be one color. But the Deeper Love looks gorgeous.
Beautiful. I'm looking at that one, yeah.
Actually, Deeper Love is very similar of a mixture of Love Grit with a little Midnight Red and very little of the Very Berry. So it's like a nice color mixture. I think it's once you do like a full lip treatment, it's quite. I mean, for the ladies that like their contour be very visible, right? But for the modern, for this very modern and stylish style of doing lip treatments, that's actually my favorite color. And now the trend goes more to these kind of fresh lips, you know, like not an unborn child, like that a child that just came to the world, and in the first years they have this kind of freshy color, you know. It's not pink, it's not orange, it's like this kind of color was for me important to find. And with the powder technique and the frozen strawberry, that's exactly the one that you will find there. That is like a very fresh, very young, very innocent kind of color, but still vivid, and that is fabulous.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Right.
it's like a watercolor painting, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next question, when would you use Miami Beige and White Wonderland?
If I want to go for okay, there's mostly I use it for highlights. If I have a very light skin color, very pale skin color, and I want to do like a highlight on eyeliner under the eyebrow, or just like some soft effects on a pale color, I would use the Miami Beige. And the darker the color goes naturally, would mean that there is a lot of more darker skin growing on top of the skin color. So the darker the skin goes, the more I tend to go for the white in pure. But mostly I use Miami Beige and white when I'm mixing colors, especially for corrective treatments. So if I work on scars, if I work on corrections and camouflage, if I need a maximum covering capacity, and if there is and if I need to make a color change. So for instance, if there is a very grayish old powder or old shadow around the eyebrows, and I create some new hairlines, and in between I can see the old grayish shadow, and I want to change that, I would not use skin color. I would use Miami Beige plus orange or plus terracotta on very light gray, Miami Beige plus Amber Ambition. So I will create a kind of peachy, like a peach cream or salmon souffle, you know, this kind of a baked salmon, this kind of slightly orange color that would balance the gray, but still contain a lot of skin color base, which is the white and the Miami Beige. And then one treatment would be enough to kill the gray and to enlighten the grayish shadow, so you have the more visible lines again. So if I'm using, and this is what I call pastel technique. So those for those pastels, I like to use also white and Miami Beige, and again Miami Beige for the lighter, paler skin types, and the darker the skin type is, the more I have the tendency to white. And white I use a lot if I want to do the first pre-work on very dark lips. we're talking African lips. Oh God, what is politically correct in the UK? Because
Black.
here,
Black.
black. You can say black. That's easy.
Yeah.
If I say black in Germany, I'm a Nazi. Okay, no, because we have, I don't know, there's always different things coming around the corner to be politically correct. But if I'm talking about black lips, I like to use a lot of white pigment in the first treatment on black lips to lighten up the canvas I'm working on. And the surface I'm working on, because the most luminous red color will lose the shine and will lose the luminosity if you work on black paper. Yeah. So my first goal would be to use a lot of black pigment on a very dark lip. And I really work quite dense with the white, knowing it will never be white. It will come out as a creamy toffee kind of color. And on top of that, I will layer then another layer or 2 layers of reddish pinkish colors, depending on where the lady wants to go to. But in the US and also in the Netherlands and France, there is a very big amount of ladies with very dark lips, and that technique is fabulous to use it on them, because most of them want this kind of fresh, you know, this color, and you cannot achieve that if you don't use white beforehand. Okay. And if finally, the delicious toffee is for me always the base if I have to find a skin color on deep pigmented skin. I like to use Miami beige with delicious toffee. I like to use Miami beige together with sophisticated blonde to create skin colors. Now, on the color chart, you find them on the very last page. You can see the skin colors, breast colors, and also here are all the pastel colors. No, so the pastel orange for anti-blue, the pastel, all these colors, and here is a lot of skin color mixtures. So actually, with white-based colors, you will achieve all of the needed skin colors.
I think if we go back and make it really simple, just for those that don't know, each color has 2 names. So, and then that becomes a code. Yeah. So Ebony Queen is EQ, Delicious Toffee, DC, you know, Miami Beige, MB. Yeah. So when
but I have to say one thing to that. I would never talk to my clientele that is waiting for a beautiful color. I would never say, oh, I'm using now FS. 5 drops of FS and 2 drops of ST. This is what I will write down in my. This is what I will write out in the file card in the client's files. But of course, I will talk to the client. It's like, oh, it's a frozen strawberry I'm using. You know, you imagine a frozen strawberry daiquiri, and then when the glass starts to have these little sparkles around when it's cold enough, and then it gets a little bit milky. So that's the color I'm going for. I would never mix a color to say to the client, okay, give me your lip liner or give me your eyebrow liner, and I try to copy that because that's a fail anyway. I will always say, I'm creating something for you. Yeah. This is perfect then to use all those creative names for it.
I think so. By understanding that there's like a code system helps though the practitioner or the artist to be able to understand the color brochure in better detail. Because when you go through all those mixes that you can see with for example, you know, you look at the eyeliners and you look at the all those camouflage colors and the paramedical colors, you can look a bit lost, and then suddenly you'll see, oh, one says 2 something, and you know, or it's got this, it ends up looking like a chemical equation, and actually all it is mixing, is showing everybody just mixes really.
And you know, there's thousands of more possibilities because most of them, but in the end, and in the end, when I'm really, really honest, you know, Debbie, when I'm working on a client, it happened to me before that I've lost a file card. So I looked at the skin and thought, what color did I use? Nah, nah. And then I was just going by my gut feeling, which I normally do anyway, if it is like a virgin treatment and she never had a treatment before. So I'm like, nah. It's always good to use hot chocolate with warm brunette. It works always. So, but when a client, especially on the lip color, she came back and was like, oh, what did I use? What did I use? What did I use? Okay, I kind of found the file card. So I'm going back. Okay, then I came back. Yes, yeah, I found the file card. It's la 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 la. And I used the color. It came out perfectly. Weeks later, I found her file card in a complete other cupboard where it actually should have been, and the color was completely different to what I thought it would be. So, but in the end, it turned out to be right. And anyway, you know, I go so much about gut feeling, and I never, for example, I point also the color chart to the client, and they always would go for those lip colors that are just like, you know, where we know, you don't see it anyway. So it's like nonsense to put them in. But the finger always would end at lavish lips and nude invisible. And I'm like, oh yeah, great choice. Yeah, really well done. So look, here I'm using the nude invisible, and I put it in the bottle, and so put some extra red in there, knowing that otherwise it will never turn out to be right.
Yeah.
And so I do include my clients, but not too much.
Yeah.
We always do.
I think the vibrant colors, they scare them though, and they don't realize that, like you said, you don't, no, not just that, but it's like, you know, you've got a black piece of paper and you're drawing with a black pen, you know, if they don't see the contrast of obviously, you know.
And plus, in the end, have you ever seen those wedding formats on TV? Where all the brides go and they say, oh, I want to have a very natural dress. It should be very nicely, but not too much. And then they end up being a glitter bomb, which I think, yes, that's brilliant. It's your wedding, for God's sake. Go there, go and glitter, but don't come into me and say, I want it very natural. And I understand also clients that come in, it's like, oh, you know, I don't want too much lip color and nobody really should see it. And it's so often that I hear that I don't want anybody to realize that I've done something. And then when you put it this way, and then she comes back in 4 weeks, like, but nobody saw that I did something. It's like, yeah, honey, that was exactly your wish. And from a certain point on, you're like, oh yes, I know exactly what she means. She wants something visible, but not overdo it. She's got the fear that she would end up, you know, like with super big lips in a mega color. So the communication in color is of course there. And this is what I always can recommend. Use a tone more luminous and a little bit more intense. So you don't have so many extra treatments after.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Next question. That's about Skin Top and Easy Flow. Can these products be used with other pigment brands?
Honestly, I don't know. The thing is, let's say, hold on. Yes, I can say one thing. I have tried it with the older series of GoldenEye, the Pigments Plus, that I use a lot for tricot pigmentation, and there it doesn't work. It makes the pigment immediately change to a kind of gluey, sticky, so you cannot use it for pigmentation anymore. I don't do tests so much anymore with other pigments, as I am so secure now to have found the perfect color and the perfect formulation. I don't look and I don't try that. If you want me to answer that really correctly, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, because in the end, most of the other productions, if they work with a normal amount of color, the second you put Easy Flow or Skin Top in there, that already means for other colors you dilute them. And with the Colorescence colors, if you put these drops in, you make them more intense, because you make them, you change the texture in a way that the body can absorb more color. So in the end, by diluting them, you make them more absorbable. And I don't know if that would count for other pigments. I think I have 15% more pigment, color pigment in these colors than usually pigments would do that. And then if you put diluting stuff in there, I think it wouldn't work.
Yeah. Okay.
No, but it wouldn't cause a chemical reaction, though, would it? It'd be fine.
In the worst case, yes. In the worst case, especially with Easy Flow, which has an alcoholic compound, and if a color is based on a more oily compound, you put that in, and then it's a chemical reaction in the pot, but not in the skin. So that nothing would happen really in the skin. But I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then there was another few questions. I think we've touched on this already. Will you bring out more vibrant lip colors, especially pinks? Well, some new ones coming.
Okay, I have to be very frank here as well. I want it. I want also like light pink, baby pink, and all those kind of colors. The situation really is that if I look for magenta pigments, if I'm searching for pinkish pigments, everything that is offered in the world market, if I have these pigments analyzed, they are so extremely full of heavy metals and of other stuff that you don't want to have in your skin. And I would never do that on my sister, my niece, or in any woman in my life, to put that in their lips, because I don't want to take on that responsibility. Actually now, the thing is that the magenta color that tattoo artists would use mostly come from China. The amount of heavy metals is incredibly high. I have found now a manufacturing company, they have one lot, and it's not that they always have it, but it's one lot that they now have for the moment, and since about 1 year they have that for the moment, that there's a raw material in this nice magenta pink. The point is only what I keep thinking about, and I think I have also sent you some pure of this pinkish mix. The thing is, I cannot guarantee or warranty that I can keep this color, because once the next lot is again full of heavy metals, I will not be able to give you the color, and that would mean that the client that comes back who wants the same color, that we cannot treat her, or we have to find a compromise. Yeah. And that gives me sleepless nights at the moment, because I do want pinks, and I don't get the raw materials that fit with my belief system. Yeah. I don't know what tattoo artists do out there when they are offering like the mega pinks and magentas. I just know exactly what is being put in that skin and what happens to the lymph nodes during healing and during years, and I'm not really happy about that. But everybody has to decide that for themselves. I have decided that I'm waiting for the pinks to come. At the moment, I can only offer you very cold red colors in a mix with a white color, or with a white pigment, which is the lollipop pink, but it's not really lollipop, and it's not really pink. So
that was my question, Holger. I really wanted it to be a bright pink, and I just found it wasn't quite bright enough, such as the old golden eye colors like Wine Experience and things like that. I wanted a bit more pink in it.
I could now get up, go down to the basement and pick a bottle, and you would be like, ah! Because it's exactly the pink that I'm looking for, you know, this kind of really nice baby pink, the kind of color you want to put on the wall when you're pregnant and you know it's a girl. And that color I can't achieve with the real raw materials, with the good raw materials that are on the world market at the moment. And if I would sell you a pink color, no, I wouldn't sell you a pink color that I couldn't put my hand in the fire. I wouldn't do that.
I know that's just isn't it? It's
We'll keep trying, huh?
I'm still there. I mean, I'm in contact with a factory that produces pigments. The thing is, this pink magenta, 80%, 90% comes from China, and is it rude to? I mean, in Germany, I would say they don't give a well, you know what I mean. They don't give their interest to so much about what happens to people, and I cannot buy that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
no.
Right, thank you for that one. The trend colors, we've discussed that. I've got a question about the push and wash. Can you tell a bit more about the push and wash and how many times during the treatment do you use it?
Yeah. Push and wash was formulated by the need of, because let's start from another way, because I have learned to use green soap when I started micropigmentation, and I thought that's exactly what the tattoo artists would use, and what is good and what is not so good. And of course, to use green soap or water only will clean and cleanse, but I have realized that in working on lips, working on eyes, sometimes there's a certain swelling maybe that occurs, and you can see that the more nervous the skin would react to the treatment, the more color loss would be in the first weeks, and especially in the first days after the treatment. So our goal was to find an antihistaminic compound, to find a disinfecting compound, an anti-swelling compound, and a soothing and smoothing compound. And in the end, we also said, okay, the green soap necessarily is not so good for the skin in all. If you're using too much soap all the time, it will take out too much color, because we tend to wipe much more than a tattoo artist does. So wash was created to calm the skin down, to give the client the right skincare, the right cleanser for home. So I don't only use it in my cabin, in my clinic. I use a little bowl, I fill it with water, and I put 5-6 times a drop of wash, and I soak my cotton pads in there. And then they're antihistaminic and disinfecting and antibacterial, which I think is very important also for the treatment in all. And also cleansing with that, you will have a less, is it fracture? No, less. So the cotton pad doesn't hurt that much if you use it on the eyes.
Yeah.
I also give this bottle because I'm very service orientated. I rather charge 50 euros more, and then in the end stand there and I say, okay, now lovey, it's nice that you had a treatment. Now that's the cleanser, that's for free. That's the cream, that's for free. I will give you a little present for that, and then I put some. I put some silky paper on top of the, to kind of fill that, and then I say, okay, now I hope that everything is right with you. So I already, of course, I did calculate beforehand, and I said, okay, if I give her the wash and I give her the keep and I give her this and that, my treatment has to cost this and that. But then she goes home and she's like, I got look, and I got this and I got that. So in the end, I give my client, all the clients, I give a bottle of wash to clean and to cleanse the surface of their skin with an antibacterial, antihistaminic product. It will calm down the area. It will work perfectly also, whatever cosmetic they use. It doesn't leave anything on the surface, so they can use their serum, they can use a hyaluronic acid straight after, is fine. And even If the husband, for example, can I say that? Oh, whatever. Because the farnesol, the disinfecting compound in the wash, it kills bacteria, but it really also kills the bacteria that change the sweat to the smell. So if somebody has
Body BO.
I don't know yeah. If you use wash in that area, it doesn't smell anymore. That's fabulous. People that have acne and problem with impure skin, if they use wash as a daily cleanser, the skin will calm down and recuperate and will be less inflammatory than before. So that's wash one, and then use it on the skin. I have it in my shower actually, and just clean everything, even the beard I do with it. And then push is there you will find a higher concentration. You will find a higher concentration of the antihistamine and a higher concentration of the anti-inflammatory. Push I will need all the time when the skin already has been treated and I realize, okay, now's the time. Actually, the skin would have enough and the skin actually would need some rest. So if I do a powder eyebrow and I leave some pigment on top, like a color mask, and I go to the other side, I will remove the color mask with a push and I leave the push on for another minute. And you can see that the redness goes down, that the swelling goes down, and it's like a soothing, and it cleanses extremely also in between the lashes. If sometimes you will find in the middle of the eyeliner that your clients will return, and in the middle of the eyeliner you don't have enough color because it only got stuck in between the lashes. If you're using the push in like 1 time, 2 times in between the eyeliner procedure, the color just goes in like that. Because the surface of the color is the surface of the skin is more slippery than the surface of the needle. So the color would stay rather on the needle than it would stay on the skin. And that makes the pigment go in more easily.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
But much more important, I'm sorry to answer more questions that you're asking. Much more important, I think, is the product keep. Yes. Because GoldenEye has found a recipe together with our laboratory that is in charge for skincare, which is incredible. Keep is a product that keeps the hairlines more straight, more sharp.
Yeah.
Keep is a product that prevents any color from blowout. So to use Keep 4 weeks prior to an eye treatment, where we just know, oh my God, she's got such a sensitive skin, there's such a high risk of blowout. If she would use 4 weeks, 6 weeks, once a day, the serum Keep on her eyeliners and around her eyes, it's incredible. You won't have, you reduce the risk of a blowout immensely. Yeah. And a side effect is pigmented skin, and also it's tested also on tattooed skin. So even if you're an owner now of all the participants that is owning a tattoo studio, give the Keep to the clients that just had a new tattoo. Once it's healed, they can use it as a daily care, and the lines will stay more sharp, the color will stay more vivid and more colorful. And it's because what happens, oh, now the English word, is it an English word, proliferation?
Yeah.
We kind of accelerate the cells to create. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We accelerate that after a couple of weeks, you have the double amount of collagen fibers in the skin. That means the cells are more dense. There is more amount of cells inside the skin, especially on these kind of eyes where when you pull the skin out and it remains out and slowly but surely sinks back. If you give them the Keep as a daily routine every evening, or very dry skin also during the day, the skin will be like bing, 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 after, and then there is no risk for a blowout anymore. It's
Yes.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I've been using it for years. I'm actually 85. Works really well. Okay, let's
I know, Ginger, do you remember the red shoes?
let's see what else we've got. I've got one more. What aftercare instructions do you recommend? I mean, that depends on the treatment.
Yeah, it really depends on the treatment. Let's put it this way: inside the salon, inside your clinic, it makes sense to put seal. That is a mixture of calming, anti-inflammation products, but also the most important is certain medical silicones that are being used in all medicine. Once they cut the skin, once they harm the skin, they put these resins on top of the skin to prevent the collagen fibers and the elastin fibers to create lumps, or even worse, if it was really a rough treatment, to even prevent scars. So the first 72 hours, 48 for eyebrows, I would recommend to use seal for the eyebrows and the lips. Around the eyes, only a professional should apply that because it has to be very thinly. You don't want to have these silicone resins on the apple of the eye, because it creates like a film, and so it has to be applied very thinly. For the eyes, I have created Cool, which is panthenol, hyaluronic acid, allantoin, everything that helps healing, and you even can apply it into the eye. It doesn't matter, it's no burning, no stinging, and very, very, very quick healing. I'm so proud of what we have created with the skincare line. This is unbelievable. Because everybody will called me back in the last month and said, okay, what you have done there with the skincare line is incredible. The healing, it's much faster. There is more maintenance, more color remaining in the tissue, and there is no itching, no problems at all, and that's really a very nice series.
Yeah, it's been a long time in the making, but it's
been worth it.
Only the packaging, I have to say. It was for us a decision of money, to be completely honest, because the product is such a high-end and very expensive raw materials, and our goal was to be able to give it away to client, that you don't have to sell it to a client because it's so expensive. So we have put it in those kind of little small tubes, and I have quite some elderly ladies also, and they have really problems to get the creams out of the tube. So
Debbie was the same.
I struggle.
yeah. So most of them, they would cut the end and take it with a thing. So I have to be completely honest. I know everybody hates me probably for the little tubes in the beginning, but that was for us the only filling chance. That gave us the chance to sell the product for such a reasonable price that we can give it away to client just like that, without asking extra money for them. I am already now, I have agreed with Renee, who's my business partner, that we will also put the seal and the Cool we will also have in a 10 ml small bottle next year sometimes. So that there will also be the chance for the more luxurious salons, for the more posh salons that don't like to give a small tube to their clients because it looks like a free gift, or it looks like a not for sale product. And if for those kind of posher salons, we will bring the 10 ml.
That's great. Yeah, fantastic, brilliant.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one other question?
Yes.
I thought it was the care product was for lips, not the seal.
The seal is for the first hours, and the care you can use after, or you can swap both products with each others. The care product is actually, yes, that's the lip product, and I would recommend, but still I would recommend for the first hours, the seal is the best one to cover because it's a very nice feeling. If you have a client that has problems with herpes, cold sores, then you would have to use one time the gel, one time the cream, because in the care, the rescue balm, I have included 10% of propolis and 3% of panthenol, and that is a very, very good protection also against herpes.
Perfect.
Good to know.
So yeah, so what you would do is you would, after the treatment, immediately the technician would put some seal, and then you give care to the client to take home.
Exactly. So what I do actually is I open the seal right in front of the client's eyes, so she knows it's a hygienic procedure. And I said, now I open your product and see this is how much you will need only. And then you close it by putting the others, you turn around the thing and then you close it again. And please keep it on standing so the product can go down to the little nozzle. So you just have to press it slightly. If you have it laying down or when it fell off, just make sure you push the product to the beginning, and there's one softer side that makes it more easy to bring the product forward.
Yeah.
But if you keep it standing, then it's better. So I show her the amount, and then I apply it and I give it directly in her hands, and I said, now that's yours.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. I've got one more question here about correction of orange brows. They ask, to correct orange brows, should I layer Taupe Spectacular and Amazing Blonde or mix them together?
Yes and yes. If we're talking about hair effects, if we're talking about a hair by hair, V brows or whatever techniques, V brows, Y brows, I do a lot. So everything that has to do with hair, it makes more sense to mix the color in the pot. If we're talking about powdery shade, shadows and like bigger treatment, there is more easy to layer colors on top of each others. So there it would be possible to layer it. Depending on the orange in the eyebrow, because most of the orange really do appear only when there was an oxygenation of the iron oxides.
Yeah.
And when the iron oxide brown has got in contact with a free radical, then it changes to this kind of red. Now, if you detect a more orangey, like the terracotta pot, where we put plants in, this kind of orangey color, with that I would go for Taupe Spectacular, just like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe Glamorous Graphite, just like that, because a gray always balances orange perfectly. Now, if we're talking about an orange reddish color, like on the roof of a house, this kind of brick, this burned, rusty reddish color, there I would rather recommend a darker cold brown mixed with a yellow, so that you achieve this olivish, muddy, kind of greenish brown, and that would balance then the red.
Perfect.
We just had a light bulb moment.
What?
Yay.
Light bulb moment. I didn't know that the lid went back on.
So see.
It goes back on upside down.
Someone asked me, can you?
All right.
I don't think
Brilliant.
so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant.
But don't.
Okay, I'm just going to ask you on the correction. Is that what you use the Sunny Simpson for?
Yes, Sunny Simpson actually I use for three main reasons. I use it a lot on burn scars, so I mix it with skin color on burn scars. Secondly, I use it just as a Sunny Simpson for in between eyebrows. If there is somebody with golden blonde hair, and she wants some darker brows, but I want to create some gold effects. I use the hair by hair effect, and in between the hairs I will put some golden effects, so it makes the eyebrow sparkle and look like more luminous without making the color green, because the colors are besides each other. And then that gives it like a golden sparkle. And also very often, to correct reddish colors, I will use a cold brown together with this yellow color that makes it greenish olivish, whether for an eyeliner, so, or to correct a red eyebrow.
Okay.
Fabulous. Right, I've got another question. I'm just going
Oh my God, I thought I can go to bed.
Almost. I'm going to
Soon.
No one wants to let you go.
Poor
I know,
Holger.
don't.
Yeah.
I've got a few more questions. We'll be quick.
No, I'm fine. I'm happy.
I'll send you a bottle of champagne, Holger, soon.
All right.
Okay, question, eyeliner. This is a question from Kim. I work really slow when implanting eyeliner. Do I use skin top or easy flow, or can I mix both with the pigments?
If you're using the color number 290, you don't have to use anything with it. Just the 290, just like that.
Yeah.
Because usually on the eyeliner, you don't use needle 1. Usually you're working with 3 needles, 3 micro or 3 regular needles. And with that, you can just use 290, just like that. Even if you're using a 5-prong micro needle, it just goes whoop, and it's in there. I wouldn't recommend to put any of those 2 in there. It's just fine like that.
Okay. If you do a bit of shading for your eyeliner, then add a bit of skin top.
Then we need the skin top.
Yeah, brilliant. Right. This question we've been about organic. What ratio of skin top or easy flow is added to the pigments? Well, you can find that in the brochure.
Yeah.
So easy.
It's recommended 2 to 4 drops for 10 drops.
Yeah.
The
So
skin top.
you can find that in the brochure. If anybody hasn't got the brochure, we can get that either emailed out to you, or we could send you a hard copy. Just let Layla know or let us know, and we'll get it sorted. Can I check, are the pigments concentrated? Yes, we've covered that. They are. The colors are great. I love all of them. That's fantastic. Yay.
Well, it's not necessarily tested on and with them, so it always makes sense to stick with it's for me always very difficult to say yes to something which was not originally formulated for it. For me, it always comes out. For me, it's always it has to be a round thing and a round matter. If you look at the ingredients lists of any skincare, make sure you do not find lanolin, you don't find mineral oils, you don't find petrolatum, stuff like that. You shouldn't find a certain list of ingredients because they would harm any kind of organic colors. And then there is some special oils that would also harm the Coloressense colors, which we found out in using them, and look what happens. So in the end, if you want the best treatment for your client with the most color remaining inside the skin, best you can do, after the treatment, you put the seal, you give the tube to the client, say, okay, for 2 days, 3 days, however it lasts, you use that one product. Because the lip usually takes a little longer for healing. When that one is finished, you want to use the care and everything is fine. And then she will come back and you will be thrilled how much color is in there. So all kind of experiments I stopped.
Yeah, brilliant. What about if you're doing a combination brow? Would you mix 2 separate pigment pots, one with the easy flow mix and one with the skin top?
Yes. In the case of using some hair by hair up here and more powder there, or whatever you decide to do. The thing is, because it's really 2 complete different textures, I would use very little in the pot because, you know, I'm coming from the part of Germany where they're supposed to be greedy. I wouldn't use like 10 drops for both techniques. So I'm more or less like, okay, so I'm using 7 drops here with 1 drop, and I use 5 drops with 1 drop there. And so still the measure is fine.
Yeah.
But you will see a difference in the results. And I was always being asked also if it makes sense to use, to add kind of both products. Well, in the end, always you always have to think about that each one stands for a certain purpose. It's not a mistake if you don't know what to do, if you use 1 drop of that and 1 drop of that. But you, as soon as you manage to understand the reason and the different viscosities and textures, and once you use it really properly, perfectly right, you will see the difference in success. I mean, I'm finishing like in minutes with eyebrows. It's like poof, it's in there. Where years before I was like, okay, I have to touch it again, and now I'm quickly really finished more quickly since I use the Easy Flow. So it does make sense to use it for the purpose that it's made for. The only thing where to make you understand where it really works to use both, when we're doing lips and you start with a fine contour and you want the contour really to be strong, and you want the first part of the contour also to be strong. So once you start, for example, with needle 1 and you want to make the contour a little stronger on the outer part, so you use a 3 or a 5 prong needle. During that time, you keep going around the lip. The witch hazel alcoholic base will evaporate. So the bigger the needle gets in time, the more concentrated the color it will be. So you don't have to think about that on lip treatments at all. But if you want to finish the entire treatment by powdering, then the very end is absolutely no problem to put some skin top in the mixture to make it oily again, and then that's fine.
Perfect. Right. Well, I've one more question. There was a question from Emily. Got one more question from Emily, which is quite a good one as well, quite interesting. If someone has really, really oily skin, would you recommend using the pigment on its own then, or would you still use skin top for powder brow?
On the very oily skin, first of all, I mostly detect quite large pores. When I see them at the very first consultation date, or when I have a consultation on the phone, I will ask them about their skin types, and I would want to make sure that they are using a kind of fruit acid or milk acid beforehand, like 2 or even 3 times prior to the meeting. Now I'm working with the BDR products, give them some samples, and I tell, okay, you're using that. If they have something at home, they particularly use that on the area I want to work on, because using some acid products and some pore refining products beforehand makes it a lot easier to apply the pigment in the skin later on. Now, if we didn't have the time, or if it's a client that that you see the first time, but she already had the date to do the process, the treatment, and you see, oh God, it's large pores, still use Easy Flow if you want to do the hair, and still use skin top if you want to do the powder. But use extra a lot of wash. So don't only use the wash diluted in water when you cleanse the skin surface thoroughly. I would rather recommend to use wash pure on the skin, leave it on for some seconds to cleanse the skin in a way that the natural oils, the natural talcum oil that comes out from the pores, that would influence your color in a bad way. And if you use wash beforehand, I like a 3-minute mask, already then the color will penetrate that.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right, I'm going to leave it at that. Anybody that's still got questions, message me, Debbie or Layla, and we will go through them all. We'll get back to you. We're going to have to let Holger go because He
That's
has had a very busy day talking about color.
I can smell dinner. I can smell dinner now.
Thank you so much, Holger. You've been absolutely amazing.
You know what, Jasper? I'm really thrilled how many people were so open-minded to come into this who came into this meeting. And I'm locked down, so if you collect a lot of more questions, I'm super open to give you another 1 or 2 hours in the next days or weeks. We will find a date. So if people are interactive, and I really enjoyed it so much that so many questions were coming, because otherwise sometimes I don't know what to speak about. And it really gave me a lot of opportunity to do that. And I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was amazing. And also, I think a big thank you to Layla, who's been a huge support. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us. We had nearly 90 participants at one point, which is amazing.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
So.
And from joining from all the other countries as well that have come on board.
Yes,
so.
A lot of the GoldenEye distributors from other countries there. So I can't see everybody, but thank you all very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed it. And a big thank you to Holger.
Yeah, thank you, Holger.
Thank you for having me again. I mean, I'm always yours. Whenever you need me, you let me know.
Be careful.
No. Not in the biblical sense.
Right. Thank you very much, and have a great evening, everybody. And
thank you very much. I will have my pasta now. See you soon. Bye. Thank you.